Hello, hello. Here we are again, coming to you from the broadcast team Alpha with the Paranormal World Show. And we are coming to you on 44 different platforms around the world. And my name is Agi, and I'm the host. And we have a very, very interesting guest with here for those of you that is interested in health and staying healthy. If you are on 17 different pharmaceutical and cannot hardly get around and want to keep it that way, feel free to. It's okay. But we can show you how you can change some of that. Chances are that you might be interested. And also, I want to tell you how you can get a hold of me and also get a hold of Nori, my co-host on Broadcast Team Alpha. Go to broadcastteamalpha.com and go find the contact feature, send us an email. We'll get the email and then we will send you an email back and we will see what we can do for you. I also want to give a shout out to the people over at Conscious Awakening Network. Oh, you got to go visit those guys because they have about 50 different shows over there that talk about all the things that we need to know about. And I've spent some extensive time over there and I really enjoyed myself. You go to the Conscious Awakening Network.org and have a ball. You're gonna enjoy it there. We have a little different show this on. This is going to be an education for me, and it is going to be a little different because it's going to give us some solutions. A lot of times, we talk about all the problems out there, and sometimes very few, if any, solutions. But here, first of all, we're going to talk about a little bit about the problem, but there is a lot of talk coming your way about the solution. We have Clint Ober with you here. And he is the one that you probably, if you're interested in health at all, you have seen his movie. It's called the Earthing Movie. And for those of you that like to surf the internet while you're listening to the show, here's his website. Call it earthing.com. Earthing.com. And he also have a book out. It's called Earthing, the Most Important Health Discovery Ever. Why are we saying that is the most important health discovery ever? Because what's coming next is going to explain that. And Clint, he was installing cable TV with his own company for many years. And by installing electric system, that he found that the electric systems didn't work well unless they were grounded. And unless you are walking around every day with your feet in the dirt or on the grass or laying down on the grass, you are probably not grounding yourself because guess what? Our body is an electric system. And we're finding that when we ground ourselves, a lot of the ailments and a lot of the stuff that is not quite right with us, like severe back pain, seems to go away, and you sleep better at night, and a whole host of other things seems to go away. So I wanna bring him on here. Clint, welcome to the show.
Thanks, talking to me. I appreciate the opportunity to come and visit with you and your guests.
Oh yeah. This is going to be fun because it's going to be an education. For
Yep.
those of you out there that is interested in health, don't go anywhere because you're going to need to know this. There are many ways to ground yourself, but
Mhm.
it needs to be done every day in order to stay healthy. So how did this all come about for you?
Well, first of all, I have to, so I can reference things well. I just turned 81 last week. So I was born in 1944.
Oh,
So that was before television. We had radio and we had telephone, and but the modern world had yet to unfold. And so I've seen it all. I've been involved. But early on, I fell in love. I mean, I grew up on a ranch in Montana, kind of a cowboy chasing cows. That's a boy who sits on a horse and goes around, make sure the cows are okay, and make sure the water's okay, and make sure the pasture and the weeds are, under control. So, but anyhow, so I was taught, kind of preventative health. I mean, prevention, meaning, if you keep the pasture clean and pristine, then the cows will be healthy, and then you can go to the bank and make some money and so on. And so anyhow, I had that organic, earthy background. And in the 1960s, about early 60s, television had started to come, and in 1950 we had our first black and white TV. But I fell in love with television because I could see the world. It's a bigger place than uh, Billings, Montana, or
yeah.
my backyard. So it was kind of like a window on the world, and I just fell in love with it. So anyhow, I spent my early career was in developing uh, antenna systems, cable television antenna systems, to pick up a signal on the mountaintop, bring it down the hill, bring it down the mountain, on the dark side of the mountain, wherever. And then sometimes it started out just antennas radiating, but then we ended up building cable television systems and the like. So I've been involved with it, since the beginning.
Mhm.
And today it's a marvel that is on, cable and all that has kind of come and gone. Now we're way into the internet and going into AI and going into whatever the next things are. But anyhow, so I have a significant background, but as much as anything, I'm an observer. I've been able to observe all of these changes and recognize some of the differences. Like when I was a child, uh, barefoot was the norm. The only time we wore shoes, we wore them on purpose. We were going to church, or we were going to school, or we were going somewhere. And then if it rained, you had to take them off and carry them so they didn't get wet, because they'd get ruined, and you got home and you get a whipping for ruining your shoes. And but anyhow, barefoot was more the norm, especially in the summer. And then I grew up with Native American on the Crow and Cheyenne Indian. The reservations were on each side of where I grew up. And so I had a kind of a different view on things, more of an organic, you're part of nature, and, anything you do reflects it into nature and vice versa and so on. And so I had this very earthy connection my whole life. And and the story gets long, but I don't want to go there. But basically, I fell in love with cable television, and in the process of grounding or building these systems, we learned early on that we had to ground them to the earth. And the
Mhm.
reason is because you had aerial wires on telephone poles, and if lightning were to hit one, then it would travel down the line and into the house, create a fire, blow up a TV set, and burn a house down. So, I mean, these are real events.
Yeah,
But
that's not a good thing.
no, not a good thing at all. And people were very unhappy with that. But anyhow, so we learned a lot about grounding and connecting everything to the earth before a cable could go into the house. Same with telephone, the same with power, the same with, all these different things. And but you had to create electrical stability, and you had to have a path to ground for static electricity that was created on the wires from the wind and the dust and all of that, and just anything that you can imagine. And
Mm.
then all the interference from all the other communication systems, and just, there's just it's an art, and something that we learned a lot about on the fly, and then
Yeah.
we had to fix it. So that's kind of how uh, it's just, so I spent 30 years
Yeah.
from the time I was about in my early 20s until my um,
And then you
50.
start. then you started comparing that to the electric human body.
Well, yeah, after spending about 30 years in the communications industry, I just retired. I was tired of it. We were no longer a fun entrepreneurial type industry. The big companies found and figured out the power of advertising and everything, and they
Yeah.
came in, bought up all the channel, bought up everything. And so people who were entrepreneurial like myself, it was boring. We didn't want, I needed to do something different. So anyhow, I retired when I was, I don't know how old I was, but it was about, I was about 50 years old, I guess. And and after I retired, I was started playing around, and one day I accidentally discovered that if I ground myself, take my shoes off, put my feet on the earth, then something was going on, because if I had chronic pain, and at that time I did, in your 50s, you start to, life starts to show up big time. The aches, the pains, the stiffness, and all of especially in guys,
Yeah.
I skied, played tennis, I did everything for 30. And so anyhow, at the age of 50, I had more aches and pains than I knew what to do with. I had to take Advil to go to sleep some nights, and have to have black coffee in the morning to get up and get going. And but I do remember there was a lot in the old days, especially carpenters and people who worked outdoors, and they would always take their shoes off and they would go walk around in the grass for a bit before they would start working. And this is pretty popular back then. And
Really?
I really didn't learn this until after I wrote the book and people started telling me all these stories. But the so but also on the Native American, one of my best friends growing up, I remember they had a child, or his sister, young sister, was about 7, 8 years old, and she contracted scarlet fever. Back then, there wasn't a lot they could do, especially in the rural reservation areas. But anyhow, after they took her to the doctor and they couldn't do anything, they brought her home. They went out and dug a pit in the ground, about, so deep, put some straw in it. Then they went over and lit a little fire next to it. And one of the elders, or, grandfathers, he just sat there, and they stayed with her, she slept there, she stayed there 24/7. And a few days had gone by, and I was coming home from school one day with one of my friends, and her brother. And so here she was, up running around like nothing ever happened. And so it was kind of an odd thing. I never really understood it. I never really made sense of it. And so anyhow, I had a few incidences in my life where people, and it's like, I always felt better when I was barefoot. I mean, I always had to wear leather shoes because the plastic shoes made my feet sweat, and I would get all anxiety and edgy and stuff. And so intuitively in my background, I had this working knowledge of grounding. And then I just asked the question, I wonder if there's a consequence to humans no longer being grounded or naturally grounded. Today, we all wear synthetic rubber shoes, and
Yep.
they insulate us from the earth, just like a wire insulates, a jacket on a cord insulates the copper wire from getting shocked. And I didn't really know. So, but I was playing around that day, and I had to fix some kind of a problem with static electricity. And then I went home that night, and that question was just on my mind. And I didn't know. I really didn't know. But I went out, grabbed a bunch of voltmeter, and measured, took a 30, 40-foot wire, stuck it in the earth with a little ground rod, connected it to a voltmeter, and went in and started walking around my house. And there was all these static charges on my body. You could see them. Now, normally we don't think about these unless you're in
Mm.
a clean room or a surgical center, or where they make chips or software. You don't think about static electricity. But yet we have huge amounts of static electricity on our bodies, and we store it because of our living environments. We no longer touch the earth. We are no longer grounded. And so this charge builds up in our bodies, and it perturbs or disturbs our immune functions, normal
Yeah.
immune functions, by pushing and pulling and perturbing electrons in the body. And so it was just a kind of a using cowboy logic. I said, there's something going on here. Because when I put my foot on the earth, I had sprained an ankle for one, and normally they balloon up big, and I took my shoes off with my feet on the ground, and then all of a sudden pain just started to evaporate just within 5-10 minutes. And I said, wow, this is really odd, because last time I had a cast and I was immobilized for a week, 10 days, and lots of pain.
Yeah.
So anyhow, it's kind of along that story. The Earthing movie, there's a feature film, a documentary that kind of tells more of this and explains it. But anyhow, so I accidentally made a connection or an observation that when you ground the body, the human body, to the earth, meaning take your shoes off, go stand barefoot on the earth, that the earth will absorb um, charge that's in your body.
Yeah.
It's not charge is not to be charged is not a natural state.
Yeah.
Because throughout all time we were always barefoot or grounded, or we were always living close to the earth. But today we live on carpets, insulative type materials, flooring, and we wear shoes when we go outdoors. So we never touch the earth. And then when I started to do my homework in 1960 is when we invented plastics, invented the rubber sole shoes. And all of a sudden they started growing and everybody started wearing them. At the same time, when you do look for the corollaries of what happened, inflammation, chronic inflammation, stress-related health disorders began in the 1960s, and they've been growing exponentially ever since.
Yeah.
And what those are is, like in nature, health is the body's most natural state. To give you an idea, inflammation health disorders are everything from autism to lupus to MS to all the cancers, the cardiovascular diseases. They are all what they call inflammation-related health disorders. You have to have inflammation or you cannot experience
Yeah.
these health disorders. And that was kind of a shocker to me, because I said, this doesn't make sense, because everybody's wearing shoes and we love our homes and we love all of our creature comforts. And yet our bodies are all full of pain, aches and pains, and and all of even our young children today are suffering from these ADD, ADHD,
Yeah.
autism, and all these inflammation-related health disorders. But it happened so gradually, nobody recognized that because shoes, it was good to have rubber shoes. You could get them wet, you could do whatever you want, and they were
Yeah, and
affordable.
then you find that everybody have these symptoms, so we think, oh yeah, that's normal.
Right. Yes. So, but also being a cowboy, I learned early on, inflammation-related health disorders do not manifest
Yeah.
in the wild population. The deer, the rabbits, the animals, all the animals who live in nature live on the earth. There's no such thing as cancer unless we go screw up their environment.
Yeah.
Yet the animals who live indoors with their owners, 50% of them die from cancer just like their owners. So I was able to observe that there's a corollary here, in the sense that animals that live indoors have manifest same health disorders as the owners. And outdoor doesn't, but if you take then I started producing research studies. I tried to get big universities and they just thought I was crazy, And so anyhow, we ended up producing like 30 peer-reviewed published studies over the last 20 years. And together they all suggest that, when you put the body back on the earth, what happens is, the first thing is, it reduces all of the negative or the charges, all of the charge. You can't have charge on a grounded object. That's why we ground TV stations, radio stations, cable. That's why we ground appliances, to prevent charge, to prevent an electrical event. Well, inflammation isn't an electrical event. It's the body on fire. The word inflame, inflammation, body on fire. That's where the word comes from. And then we have about 85 to 100 popular inflammation-related health disorders, and they are, like the cardiovascular disease, cancers, and all of these respiratory and
Yeah.
all of these modern and popular. Everybody knows, everybody has one. Almost everybody over the age
Yeah.
of, almost everybody is suffering from an inflammation problem challenge. Where in nature, these health disorders do not exist. They do not manifest in the wild animal population unless we go screw up the environment
Yeah.
where the animals are. But health, so it takes me back to what I was taught by my grandfather. Health is the body's most natural state. You have to work long and hard. You can't just go get sick. You have to work long and hard, and you have to compromise your immune system over and over again, year after year after year. Then all of a sudden, fatigue, all of these, just common, aches and pains
Yeah. It
and
shows up.
stress. Yeah, and stress and all these things begin to show up. And then you develop anxiety, irritability, and that promotes cortisol or fight or flight or
Yeah.
chronically elevated sympathetic nervous system, which causes your body to be filled with cortisol, and that creates pain and that creates stress, and so it's a vicious cycle. And eventually the immune system becomes compromised.
Yeah.
And then depending on
There is an accumulative effect
yes,
of the negative environment that we place
yes,
ourselves in.
right. Yep.
And there will be a point when there's so much accumulated that you get sick.
You get sick. And
Yeah.
some people, it depends on their genetics and their and to a degree and their mental states and
Small
whatever, but
degree.
yeah, just small degrees. And but some people it'll show up as cardiovascular disease, and maybe they smoke, or maybe they are too stressed, or maybe for too long. Other people it'll be a cancer or this or that, and many of those are related to living in a chronically elevated sympathetic state or stressed state. We
Yeah.
don't ground out this charge, and the body does its best to maintain. And then one day it just says, okay, we're going to give this up because we have to save that.
Yeah.
And a disease begins to manifest.
Yes. And I also, when I'm thinking back on that movie I mentioned, you had 100 million views of that movie in the first 3 months.
Yes.
Think about that, folks. 100 million. I mean,
And,
we're doing really good if somebody have 1 million views on YouTube.
right.
You
Well,
don't get 100 million unless there's substance behind it. In
right.
fact, there's some science behind it also. I found something on your website. Let me just read it for a second, because it says the body uses the Earth's electric potential plus free electrons to maintain its internal stability for normal functioning of all self-regulating and self-healing electric systems in the body. Now, that is something that is a lot of words, but it explains why this works. Some of us have negative ion generators. Uh-oh, where did he go?
It says we have,
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
there we go.
So if you look at that statement, that is the science behind it. Some of us, we have negative ion generators. I
Right.
used to have them for years, but I don't have one right now. But we saw your movie probably 2, 3 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and we got two of your devices, those pads in the house
Right.
here. And I'll tell
Yep.
you, I swear by it, I wouldn't be without it.
Right.
Feels good.
Yeah. The pad that you mentioned is basically an extension cord that connects you to the earth.
Yeah.
So it's not a medical device or anything like that. It's just the earth is what, by grounding your body to the earth or connecting your body to the earth, then any charge in your body is going to be dissipated. It's going to be reduced. And then the immune system or the body can return to normal. But when your body is charged, then it's challenged and it can't function properly. And that's when the inflammation starts or the fire starts. And so all you have to do, it only takes a few minutes, just go outdoor, take your shoes off, put your feet on the earth, and you'll discharge the body. Now to heal and recover from all of the, the chronic, or the years or days or whatever
Hmm.
challenges you have, that may take, hours, days, weeks, months, even a year. But but the body was a self-healing mechanism. If you take away the stress or put it back in its natural environment, it will return to normal. I can assure you this.
Yeah.
You know,
And I'm wondering also, people that is walking around on carpets every day, that's me. Uh, I know that we accumulate static electricity in the
right.
body. Does that also create a form of stress on the body?
Yes, it does big time. And how it does it is whenever you've seen static sparks and charges when you touch a doorknob, or sometimes at night when you lift your sheet, you'll see a little bunch of lightning strikes in there. And so what it is those charges, they build up on the body. As they build up on the body, then they influence inside your skin is all of this electrical phenomena that's going on. So anytime it's like putting a magnet up against something, it'll pull or push, but it will perturb, upset, or disturb the electrons of the body and hold them away from functioning the way they would normally function if you were standing barefoot on the earth or in nature, or if you're, as the body. This modern world that we've created is only,
Hmm.
uh, we invented plastic 60 years ago, 65 years ago.
Hmm.
And today we've plasticized the whole world. You
Yeah.
can't touch the ground now. So we created all of this, and it's going to take another 60 years to educate and fix it.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering also, most of my house here is carpeted, but there is in the kitchen, there is tiles. A lot of
Uh-huh.
people have tile through the whole house. If you walk
Mhm.
on these tiles, does that ground you somehow, or is it?
If you're if you're if it's a ground floor house, a cement slab floor house,
Mhm.
then if you put an earthen type tile, like a saltillo tile or a Spanish tile,
Mhm.
um, and use concrete grout when you lay them down, then that would be like standing or walking barefoot on the earth.
Okay.
But most of the tiles that we have today are glass or baked, and they're not conductive. They're more glass
Mhm.
and they're not conductive. So it's a challenge. I mean, this whole thing is a challenge. It's a truly inconvenient truth.
Yeah.
Who wants to hear this?
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember also, and for those of you out there that's wondering, how can we get charged up with electricity just walking around the house? Oh, try this. Go ahead and rub your feet across the carpet.
Yeah,
Walk back and forth in the living room a few times, back and forth, and then go up and touch somebody's nose. And you're going to have a spark that long jumping from your finger to that person's nose, and they will never talk to you again.
right. And if you can see that spark, that means it's at least 3 to 5,000 volts of electricity
Yeah.
in order for you to see it. So it's huge charges. These are way out of the realms of nature and normal.
In fact, yeah, I used to do that once in a while.
Yeah,
And yeah, that tells you. I thought it was
yeah,
funny at the time. I didn't realize
yeah,
why it happened, but now I understand. It's
yeah.
the building up of static electricity in the
Right.
body,
Mhm.
and the same thing is stress. Stress is only an excess of electric charges in the nervous system.
Right. Yep. And you have to ground it out and calm the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Put your feet on the earth and the body, the nature, I mean, the earth just drains that inflammation, drains that charge away. And then all of the cells in the body can release and go back to functioning like they would in nature, like they would normally.
To discharge this, how quick that is happen? Let's say if you're walking around all day, in the afternoon you go outside and stand in the grass for a little bit. Huh, that doesn't work in Tucson. We don't have any grass.
I know,
But
I've been there.
yeah, so does it happen fairly quickly, or do we have to sit there for a half hour?
Well, no, to ground the body, that's almost instant. That's almost like speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is as you drain this charge from the body, then the body has to kind of recalibrate itself. And you can feel all of this, you can feel the drain or the change.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is, then the O2 saturation comes up and the blood normalizes. Before, your blood is thick and sticky when you're not grounded. And as soon as you get grounded, then the red blood cells become more negatively charged. So now they repel each other. And now it improves the blood viscosity. Blood can get in and out of the capillaries. All of a sudden you can breathe easier. You have more energy. But it takes about, I would say, 15 minutes to really feel the true benefits. If you have pain in your body, let's say you have pain, go outdoors, put your hands, your feet, whatever, sit on the earth and stay there. And you'll notice in 5 minutes, sometimes it can be burning pain in the whatever, to 30 minutes, you're going to have a significant reduction in pain. And you see, pain is a messenger. It's not something to have chronic pain in the body. That's a modern phenomenon.
Yeah.
Chronic means the body is on fire. You cannot have pain. You have to have inflammation first. You can't have inflammation in nature. But if you insulate yourself from the earth, then all of a sudden the inflammation builds and it starts a fire. It starts creating damage, starts oxidizing tissue, creating a fire. And then when the pain becomes pronounced, then it sends a message and it manifests as pain. And then it's like when you touch a stove, it's a hot stove, it burns, so you back away. Well, this one, we don't back away. We take Advil or aspirin or we do some pop med. And that's not the solution. The solution is when you have pain, that's a warning, that's a signal from the body saying, hey, I'm on fire, get me out of here.
Yeah, there's a reason for that pain.
Yes, there's a reason.
Pain is the alarm system.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about people that have headaches all the time? Migraine?
Take their shoes off and get grounded. Their blood is thick and sticky and their system is screwed up from health. If you could take your shoes off, go sit on the earth, go spend time on the earth, take your shoes off, go put your feet in the creek, do whatever, and just stay there, then eventually you can't restore the body overnight. That's a process. That's a healing process. Some people, a few minutes, a few hours, some people, months and days and weeks or years, whatever. But the body will recover if you remove the stress that's interfering with the body's ability to function as normal. When you are not grounded, then your body's full of charge and it starts fire in the body, inflammation. Yeah. And those manifest as cardiovascular disease, cancers, or lupus, or MS, or autism, or all of these modern health disorders. And every one I mentioned, there are hundreds of studies. Even autism is an inflammation-related health disorder. Go to the internet, punch in autism, John Hopkins, and Google inflammation. And here's all the studies. So in nature, that does not exist. This is a environmental health disorders. These are not, all of these things we're experiencing today, they're because of our living environment, the way we live. Our food is also challenging because we don't eat. When I was a child, we only had one option. We had organic food. We didn't know it was organic. but we had to go out to the garden and pick it out and wipe it on the pant leg and
Yeah.
eat it. But everything was organic. Our milk wasn't pasteurized. All of our foods were normal and we were healthy. It was hard to get sick. I mean, you would catch a virus or a bacteria sometime. But those are different. That's what your immune system is about. It'll take care of those, provided it's not compromised itself. But but all of these things we're talking about grounding. We're talking about we set up an environment where we lost our ground. And by losing our ground, our bodies become compromised. This immune system becomes compromised. It can't maintain the body's normal health. And then all of a sudden a fire starts here or inflammation starts here.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have systemic inflammation in your joints, or you lose your energy, your blood viscosity. I mean, you're just fatigued and tired and you're beat up. And it advances quickly as you age because the body can only has so many resources,
Yeah.
and it can only fight the battle so long.
Mhm.
And
I got a question on that because when you are full of static electricity from walking around in the house and maybe not grounding you right, can that give an effect that shows up in weakening of the tissues of the body, specifically muscle tissue? I'm
well,
not so sure if you ever read anything about that, but I'm wondering.
it's the body it's a dynamic thing. It's not just do this and do that and it does this and
Mhm.
whatever. A lot of it has to do with your mental state. A lot of it has
Yeah,
to do with your food. A lot of it has to do. So there's a balance. If you want help, then you have to look to nature. Go
yeah,
sit on a rock in the woods, watch the animals. They'll teach you what to do. But if you have inflammation, then you're challenging. You can't exercise. You're not happy. You're stressed. You're distressed. You're angry. All of these things that show up when you don't feel well. Those are a result of not
yeah,
grounding out these charges in the body. And the more they do accumulate and they do more damage. And you have to be grounded more than not in order to offset the healing time. It's like people who have lupus and MS. These ladies are really challenged. And we know that they have to be grounded at least 16 hours a day, or more than 12 hours.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and so some people, when they're younger, you can get away with being ungrounded. The older you get, aches and pains and lack of energy, fatigue, it all just accumulates. I just told you, I'm turned 81. I've been grounded for what am I saying? 26, 27 years, something like that.
Yeah,
And my muscles are, not like they used to be. They're still there. But I do eat well and I do consume a reasonable amount of protein, but I do work out and so on a little bit. But I notice if my health becomes compromised by traveling and doing whatever, then I go downhill like a rock
mm,
going down.
yeah,
Yeah. But anyhow, so I don't have the answers on all of that. All I know is these aches and pains you have in the body and this advanced aging, early aging, I guess. I don't believe in this anti-aging thing. That's craziness. Entropy is real and we are going to age, but we want to do it gracefully and as nature intended.
yeah,
But we don't want the advanced aging where disease and health disorder shows up
yeah.
in your 20s, 30s, 40s, because, I mean, one of my granddads lived to be like 93 and the other one was 87, and they were working until the day they died.
Well,
You
that
know,
seems like that's a family habit. Getting,
yes, exactly.
staying, into old age. Let me ask
Yeah.
you another one, and that is, uh, you're about a year and a half older than me.
Okay.
And what else do you do? Because I take so many vitamins and health supplements that it feels like a light lunch when I'm done. So, what do
Well,
you do in addition to being grounded?
well, well, I'm going to be real honest with you here. When I was young, we had my uncle owned the wholesale veterinary supply in Billings, Montana. And I remember one time they came around, they wanted to sell the ranchers and everybody, they wanted to start feeding them supplements, feeding the cattle supplements.
Yeah.
So they would fatten up faster and they would put more weight on and do all these things. And my uncle looked at one of the salesmen. He says, "You used to, get that stuff out of here. I don't want to hear about it." He says, "If you feed this to the cows, the first thing they're going to do is get diarrhea, get sick, and then we have to call the vet. And so there's no money in this system.
Mm,
There's no money in this system." And so, so he stayed with the, grass-fed, whatever,
yeah.
as did many people up there at that time. But anyhow, he said, here's what happens when you take a vitamin. He says, normally the vitamin Bs are made by your gut bacteria produces all your vitamin Bs. So if you mess up your gut, you're going to mess up your vitamin Bs. And if you start taking a vitamin B supplement, then it's going to reduce the body's natural inherent production to produce vitamin B. So you're
Sure.
trading them off.
Yeah.
You're trading them off. And so the bottom line of all of it was, he says, go eat fresh food as close to nature as you can, as raw as you can. Cook things slowly and lightly, and have a couple pieces of fruit a day, a
Hmm.
good portion of vegetables, and a good portion of carbs, and a good portion of protein. And he says you can switch them out and do anything you want, but take your plate and divide it into four places. Put food on it, and he says you will have health because the body has millions of years of an inherent expertise and an immune system that goes with it that knows how to produce. I mean, the only vitamin I think
Yeah.
that's not produced in the body is vitamin C. All the rest of them can be. I mean, you do need good input. You do need to eat good food. But the vitamins today are too high in potency.
Oh, yeah.
And so now the body is challenged because it's got something that's foreign and it's got an operating system that uses a certain level, a certain amount of nutrition. And if you overdose on one thing or take too high of a dose in that, it's going to affect everything else. It's going to stress
Yeah.
the system. So the key to it is eat as much as you can in normal, and then add supplements as needed for deficiencies.
There
And
you
today we
go.
have a lot of deficiencies because of our food is all processed. It's
Yeah.
all dead, and it's a lot of work to go.
Yeah.
Last night before I went to bed, I took uh, a pan and 4 cups of water and a cup of oat groats,
Hmm.
organic oat groats, cost 50 cents.
Yeah.
And then I poured them in there and I let it sit overnight. In the morning, I cooked it for about 15 minutes, put in 3 or 4 dates, took an apple, chopped it up and put it in, organic, whatever. And so there's a meal that cost me probably $3 or $4
Yeah.
that will last me for 3 or 4 days. And
Hmm.
I get a good mix of things. But so, but it's work. I have to prepare my food.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can't eat at McDonald's. I
Yeah. But
cannot eat.
that's a small price to pay. And
Yeah,
what you're saying here is a very good point behind it, that if you take supplements, then let's say you take vitamin B, and then the body looks around and say, wait a minute, there's all kinds of vitamin B here. I don't have to do anything. So it shuts
ex
down the production of vitamin B.
that's the problem.
But we do get it through supplements, so we kind of feel okay. We do not
Yeah,
recognize the deficiency at that point.
no, no, and the problem is you're probably overdosing
Yeah,
to the body
that's
because the body. I mean, they've done enough research on this that the majority of the supplement
Yeah.
I mean, they go through as waste. And because the body it only needs what it needs.
Hmm.
And these super supplements are probably okay for a little bit or whatever, but to go long term, they might
Yeah.
be more challenging on the gut bacteria and create imbalances that, and I'm not an expert in nutrition. I'm just a cowboy.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and my
But
family
that
was organic.
this goes across the board. It's not just nutrition. It's just not the salads
Right.
or food. It also goes into the pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
Let's say somebody is just abusing themselves, so they end up with diabetes, and
Yep.
then you get insulin,
Mm.
and you replace. The pancreas is looking around saying, wait a minute, there's all kinds of insulin here, so I don't have to do anything. You will
Right.
never recover doing that. There are now, from what I hear now, all over the internet is that diabetes can be cured. I'm not going to say how because that's your job to research, but it can be. But you're not curing it with insulin. But
No,
in
you have
that
to.
regard, I also want to say something here that I probably should have said in the beginning is that we're not doctors. We're not here to
Nope.
cure anything. We don't
Nope.
prescribe anything. You do your own research, but we talk about the medical science and the effects of doing the right thing, which is perfectly
Right.
legal.
Yeah. I think the first thing most people need to do is look at it and try to figure out what caused
Yeah,
the need or what's the cause of your disorder or your
yeah,
challenges
yeah.
and look back. And then look at who we are and where we came from.
Hmm.
Uh,
That's right. Yeah, I know. I traced my ancestry back to about 1400, and there are Vikings back there for me. So,
yeah, same here. Norway and all of that whole area. Yeah.
all right. Yeah, they were hardy people.
They were very hardy.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the success stories that you have? When people have good effects, they send you emails and tell you about it. What are some of the success stories that you can mention?
Well, they go to all extremes. It's like I think MS and lupus, those are some of the more dramatic ones. Like a lady came in to be in one of our studies one time, and she had MS, and she had to hold her hand close to her chest because otherwise it would be all over the place, and because the immune system has started to oxidize the myelin sheath, and so the nerves were exposed, and lots of pain, lots of challenges, pure misery, and it doesn't get any better. And that's what, especially, that's what the rheumatologists, they used to give me these people. They said, you take them, we can't help them. I don't have time, take them, however many you want. And so we would ground them out. But the number one thing we saw with these women in this hot burning pain with lupus and MS and so on, uh, within 30 minutes, all of a sudden the pain begins to stop and subside, and the nervous system calms, and all of a sudden their color comes back, their energy starts to come back. And I remember one of them went into the bathroom, and after about a half hour, no, I think maybe it's an hour, so sitting in one of our chairs that we put the subjects in and grounding them out and measuring everything. Anyhow, she came out of the bath. She let out a scream when she was in the bathroom, and she came running out and she says, "Look at me, look at me." She said, "I got my life back. I look like I used to look like." And so she looked like the average woman will look 10 years younger as soon as she
Yeah,
gets grounded. And all she has to do is go outdoors, put 5-10 minutes of barefoot time in.
yeah.
She'll turn pink and drain the charge out, and all of a sudden her energy comes back, her demeanor changes. Now she's got a smile rather than that stress. And but anyhow, so it goes on. That's a very common one, and most of the people who buy earthing products or anything that we mess with is, I would say, they're 99% female. and they're all suffering from a stress-related health disorder. That's everything from lupus, MS, and fibromyalgia, all the way up to cancer, cardiovascular, and that whole gamut of things. And so it's like sometimes we've had women come in and, they're under the care of normal doctors. We're not being a doctor here, but they come in and they've been using earthing products for something. And like one of them, we have these little electrode patches that are connected to a coil cord that they plug into the ground. And she came in, she says, "You're not going to believe this, because I put the patch on my little tumor or whatever, and it went away within about 3 days. And then she's working on one down below it and so on." So I said, well, that kind of makes sense, because when you ground the body, the first thing it's doing is it's like pouring electrons into the body, and that's going to reduce the positive charges or reduce the charge in the body. And then because in order to have a tumor, you have to have a pocket of inflammation built up around it. And then inside of it, a tumor grows, but it's the inflammation around it that allows it to. But when you ground the body and reduce the inflammation, then the immune system can't get in there and attack the tumor. So I'm not discounting any of it, but I've had many stories like that. I've had many stories of people who, cardiovascular disease, different ones. And again, they're very serious. That's a lifestyle thing.
Yeah.
and it's not something that there's a single cure for. A lot of it's mental, a lot of it's all these things. But anyhow, I would say that, after surgery, a lot of people are allergic to the Vicodins and the meds, and, they can't take the narcotic type things, and they have a tooth pulled and whatever. The dentist usually gives you a certain amount of that stuff. And if you ground, just take an electrode patch and put it near the site where the tooth was pulled, you do not have any hot burning pain. You will have pain because you had a tooth removed, but you don't have that hot burning, inflammatory burning pain. That does not exist in nature. That only exists when you're ungrounded. But if you have hot burning pain from anything, you put an electrode patch on and ground out the oxidation or the oxidative radicals, which are the fire radicals, and put them out, and then everything kind of returns to normal. And the body's a self-healing mechanism.
Yeah.
It just get out of the way,
Mhm.
put your feet back on the earth, and that body will return to normal. It'll heal
Yeah.
itself up.
Yeah, the body
But
is a self-correcting machine if you give it
yeah,
what it needs to
yeah.
replenish itself.
But once the fire is started and a lot of damage, and you're later in time,
Yeah.
you're not gonna you'll put the fire out, but the damage it's like if you smoke for most of your life and you have COPD and you have all these other issues, well, you can put a patch on each lung and sleep with it for, but it's going to take 5 years for that lung to replace and grow back and return to 100% of health, and sometimes less, depending on the damage and whatever. But the body will heal. It will restore. I mean, the gnarled fingers and the gnarled bones from arthritis will return to normal if you reduce the inflammation and the stress that's feeding it.
Yeah.
But where are you going to do that? That's the problem. That's the challenge. I feel guilty even telling anybody about this sometimes, because what can they do? Where do I go? I can't live outdoors. I can't sleep in the backyard. Well, maybe.
Yeah, that's all exciting. And I see we are coming down towards the end here, but let people know where they can get their hands, go to the website and see the products, and talk a little bit about that pad that I'm using and you are using, and a lot of, millions of people are using.
Yeah, that pad is like 13 inches wide and 24 inches long, something like 30 inches long. And it's just a conductive mat, And when we were doing our first studies 20 some years ago, in order to do the studies, we had to create a device to ground people. And then we'd have to sit on it, lay on it, walk on it, whatever it was. And then we'd have instruments and we would have monitoring and whatever. And so we could do our studies. And we kept doing these studies year after year. But every time we did a study, and we'd have like 10 subjects or 60 subjects, those that were actually grounded, they all wanted to take their mats home with them. or the devices that we use to ground them. And so as time went on, and then they would come back 6 months later, well, I want one for my grandmother. I want one for my mom. I want one for my own. So all of a sudden, I had my background is, I was the first guy to put satellite or data over satellite and feed it to a personal computer. That's my background. But here I am, providing mattress pads or pads that you sleep on and lay on or sit on, to absorb the information. And so, but anyhow, so all of a sudden it became so demanding that people wanted these things. So we ended up making that particular one, 13 inches wide, 30 inches long. On one side, it's got carbon and it's conductive. And then underneath, it's got the new ones that we have now are really nice. And they have a, kind of it's no petrochemical, it's non-silicon type rubber on the back. And so it's nice and floppy later. You can sleep on it, you can do whatever. But anyhow, you connect it to a ground wire, connect that to the electrical ground or a ground wire outdoors if you don't have a ground wire. And then you just lay down on it. And then you are literally coupled with the earth. You and the earth are one and the same. So that product became the standard. There's been millions and millions and millions of them sold around the world. It's normally well under $100 and it's life-changing. There is nothing you can do if you, I mean, but on the other hand, I remember in the early days when I started promoting this or educating and talking about it, I was talking with the FDA, some of the people there, and I asked him, I understand claims. I'm not going to make any claims and guarantee anything. I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to play doctor. All I can do is observe and share observations. And then you can go experience it. But they said, what you're doing, we understand. But he said, before you go to market, you have to have a no-cost solution and you have to have a low-cost solution. Well, no-cost solution is simple. Go outdoors, take your shoes off, get a chair, sit, and put your bare feet on the earth and sit there until your pain goes away.
Yep.
That is free. You can do it as many times a day and as often as you want. I guarantee it'll work. And if you like it and you really need to be grounded more, then the best time to ground is during sleep. So you can buy one of these inexpensive mats, put it on your bed, and put a pillow cover over it if you want, or just put it under your sheet and put the mat underneath your sheet and just lay on it during sleep, because during sleep is when the body heals and restores itself and recovers.
Yeah.
So it's really important to reduce any inflammation in your body, any stress in your body before you go to bed or while you're sleeping, so the immune system so your body can recover and heal. Yeah. And this isn't so I have a low cost and a no cost solution.
Yeah.
And that's my goal. I don't think we've ever made a dime, but we sure sell a hell of a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it's more of a mission. At 81, what the hell am I going to do except go out and try to go out and
Yeah.
share my life a little bit, share what I learned, and
I pretty much walk around barefoot every day, both in the house and outside. Yep. So.
Well, that eliminates a lot of the static electricity on your body.
Yeah.
Even though you're walking on carpet, you're still not going to have those big charges that you would have if you had shoes on or certain types of socks. But it all helps. But anyhow, so what I try to do is teach people what I know, share what I know, and hopefully they're inquisitive enough to go outdoors and don't let anybody see them. Just go outdoors, take your shoes off, put your feet in the grass, or take some sand and sprinkle the hose down, water it down a little bit, and go put your feet in the sand and just sit there. Mm-hmm. And then if all of a sudden your energy comes up, your respiration, your O2, they're not going to be able to measure, but your oxygen saturation comes up, your demeanor changes, you turn from a frown or to a kind of a smile, and your skin starts to look turn pink. You look 10 years younger.
Yeah.
Then oh my God, then incorporating into your routine is challenging.
Yeah.
Who has time? Who has time? So that's why the little mats are really nice to have.
Let people know where they can get a hold of you and the website, and also the book that you wrote. Is that on Amazon?
Yes, it's on Amazon. It's called earthing.com, the most important discovery ever. And the reason I say that is because it's simple. You can have 100% of your health back and it's free. All you got to do is reconnect with the earth and let the earth, restore your health. I mean, remove the charge from your body so the body can restore itself. And so it's on Amazon. We also send it out free with every order. And we also have the Earthing movie, which is it's on YouTube. It's I think 100, hour and 15 minutes documentary. There's a lot of good
Yeah,
people in it, and it kind of helps people understand what puts the science behind it. It's the remarkable science of earthing. And
absolutely. I highly recommend. That's what I saw. Go to
yeah,
YouTube and watch that video, and that will explain pretty much everything about the science and what you need to know to make
yeah,
your own decision.
yeah, and it's all free, and there's no commercials in it or anything like that.
Right.
And again, this is kind of a mission more than it is anything, or it's not a mission, it's a moral obligation. You know, when you find something that is so simple that can help so many people
Yeah.
with so little effort, no work,
Yeah.
no, you just do what you normally do.
There you
Lay down
go.
and go to sleep at night,
Yeah.
grounded. I mean, it's
And
so
then your website is
earthing, earthing.com.
earthing.com.
And then you can go to the Earthing Institute.net to
Okay.
learn. 30, there's 50 peer-reviewed studies there, 50 peer-reviewed published papers. There's a plethora of information, or you can go to PubMed, type
Yeah.
in earthing and any information related to health disorder, and it'll guide you to the published studies that are on the
Yeah. Yeah.
PubMed.
The earthinginstitute.net, you go there for the science behind it, and
Yes.
then
Mhm.
and then you watch the rest of it and you make up your own decision. And gosh, this time went fast. So thank you for being with us.
Always goes fast. I could
Yeah.
talk for hours.
Yeah. This is good.
So,
I'm going to keep using my mat, and chances are that you guys out there watching and listening to this, you'll realize what you need to do too. So,
yeah. Very
yeah,
good. I mean, it's wonderful. I could, we could go on forever, but I understand. So
yeah,
anyhow, yeah, thank you so much for letting me come and share this, and
yeah,
hopefully somebody benefits.
yeah. Thank you for being with us. And for all of you out there watching, if you are watching us on YouTube right now, that's the place to be. And please subscribe. That'll help us a lot.
Yep.
And then until the next time, be good to each other.